Welcome to episode 463 of AI Brief. I'm Amin.
And I'm Leah.
And today we're diving into some truly wild stuff. I mean, imagine a tech giant valued at like $852 billion actively rewriting the foundation of the global economy while its engineers are secretly coding a virtual terminal pet that tracks chaos and snark metrics.
It really is a perfect snapshot of the industry right now.
It's incredible. Our premise here is simple. Every single day, there is just an overwhelming wall of noise coming out of the tech world. Our mission is to take that noise, filter it down, and extract the absolute most crucial signals you need to boost your productivity and expand your knowledge base.
We look at the data, the market moves, and the underlying technology, and we figure out exactly why it matters to you.
We got a massive roadmap today. We are breaking down OpenAI's record-shattering $122 billion funding round and their new master plan to build a unified super app.
Then we'll look at the other side of the industry, where Anthropic just experienced a massive accidental source code leak.
After that, we have a fascinating new poll showing a very sharp divide between how much we are using these tools and how optimistic the American public actually is about them.
And we're going to slow things down a bit for a measured look at the major infrastructure shifts happening today.
Finally, we will break down the top trending tools you can start using right now to supercharge your workflow. So let's jump straight into the main news. Because despite a pretty chaotic few months of headlines and internal restructuring, the market has officially crowned its undeniable heavyweight. OpenAI just closed a funding round of $122 billion.
Which places their valuation at a staggering $852 billion. This isn't just big, it is actually the largest single venture fundraise in history.
It is hard to even wrap your head around a number that massive.
The scale of that capital really is difficult to conceptualize. Just to put it in perspective, $110 billion of that raise was anchored by just 3 players.
That's Amazon, NVIDIA, and SoftBank.
Exactly, but the financial figures are only half the story here. The internal mechanisms of these deals are where the long-term market strategy actually reveals itself. Like Amazon's investment reportedly carries a specific artificial general intelligence clause.
Wait, hold on. We need to unpack that. An AGI clause, that sounds like a doomsday provision written into a science fiction novel.
Yeah.
How do you even legally define something like outperforming humans in a binding financial contract?
It's a great question because functionally an AGI clause acts as a contractual tripwire. It defines a highly specific point at which the systems become highly autonomous and, capable of outperforming humans at most economically valuable work.
And if they hit that tripwire?
If OpenAI crosses that defined, measurable threshold, the terms of the investment and the commercial agreements can essentially be reset or heavily modified.
Oh, wow. So it's basically an insurance policy.
Exactly. It's a massive financial contingency plan. Amazon is pouring billions into the current iteration of the technology, but they are legally safeguarding their position in the event that the core nature of the technology fundamentally changes the global economy.
They want to ensure they aren't locked into unfavorable terms if the product goes from being a useful tool to an actual autonomous workforce. That is a staggering level of corporate foresight.
And honestly, the current numbers justify that kind of massive institutional bet. OpenAI announced their revenue has hit $2 billion a month.
$2 billion a month. Just to contextualize that for you listening, they noted this is 4 times the pace of Meta and Alphabet's revenue growth at this exact same stage in their company life cycles.
The revenue velocity is unprecedented. But the composition of that revenue is the most critical detail for understanding that $852 billion valuation. Enterprise sales already account for over 40% of OpenAI's revenue.
That is a massive chunk of change.
It really is. They are on track to match their consumer revenue by the end of the year. This is the fastest growing segment of their business, and it is the primary engine behind this historic fundraise.
Which perfectly explains their new product strategy. OpenAI is essentially taking ChatGPT, Codex, and all their separate agent tools and merging them into one unified AI super app.
And at the exact same time, they just announced they are shutting down Sora, their standalone video generation app.
Think of OpenAI like a massive blockbuster movie studio. For a while, they were experimenting with these quirky, artistic, indie side projects like Sora. But now, they are abandoning those indie side quests to focus purely on the cinematic universe that actually prints money.
And right now, that money printer is the enterprise super app. That 40% enterprise statistic is the underlying why for this strategic pivot.
Because the enterprise market doesn't want 10 different subscriptions and 10 different interfaces.
Exactly. They require reliability, deep integration, and centralized control over their data. A unified super app delivers exactly that. Abandoning tangential projects to consolidate their most profitable tools into a single closed ecosystem is a textbook market domination strategy.
They are skating to where the massive corporate IT budgets are heading. Consolidating into a super app, well, it marks the shift from a research lab to a traditional software behemoth.
OpenAI is building a fortified walled garden for enterprise customers, which makes security their ultimate currency right now. But as we saw this week, keeping those enterprise secrets locked down is incredibly difficult.
Oh, man. You were talking about the Anthropic situation. The lab behind the Claude models just accidentally spilled its own secrets to the public.
Yes, over 1,900 files and more than 500,000 lines of source code for their Claude code tool were accidentally pushed to a public registry, and developers immediately started digging through the exposed repository.
500,000 lines of code.
They uncovered 44 internal feature flags, which basically gave the public a map of their upcoming product roadmap.
And the internet moves incredibly fast. Within hours, a mirror of the code on GitHub hit over 4,000 stars and 7,000 forks. And here's where it gets highly entertaining. Developers started uncovering the internal code names.
Right. There's a reference to Capybara, which maps to a Claude 4.6 variant already sitting at version 8.
They also found a deeply complex planning system, persistent cross-session memory, and a feature that specifically tracks when users swear at the AI. But my absolute favorite part buried in the code of this highly sophisticated enterprise developer tool was an unreleased artificial intelligence terminal pet named Buddy Y.
Complete with 18 different species and rarity tiers.
And quantifiable stats for metrics like CIS and SNARK. A virtual terminal pet with chaos stats. Just so absurd.
It is a fascinating look behind the curtain. It highlights the deeply entrenched developer culture inside these frontier labs. But from a strict business perspective, we have to look at the actual competitive damage.
So how bad is it, really?
Well, Anthropic has stated this was purely human error, not a malicious security breach, and confirmed no customer data was exposed. More importantly, the exposed code was for the command line interface layer of Claude code.
Okay, for the non-developers listening, what does that actually mean in the context of this leak? Did they lose a secret recipe or just the menu?
They just lost the menu. The command line interface, or CLI, is the tooling built around the model. It's the software wrapper that helps developers interact with the AI in their terminal. It is not the underlying neural network weights, and it is not the proprietary training data itself.
So the actual brain of Claude is still perfectly secure.
Precisely. And in the developer ecosystem, major rivals already open source very similar command line interface tooling by choice. So while 2 major leaks in a single week is a significant reputational hit for a company that aggressively brands itself around safety, it is not a catastrophic competitive disaster.
Tech giants are throwing around hundreds of billions of dollars, building unified super apps and secretly coding virtual terminal pets. But when we look outside of Silicon Valley, everyday people are viewing this technological shift through a completely different and much more skeptical lens.
There is a profound market disconnect developing between industry output and public reception.
A brand new Quinnipiac University poll just dropped, and it highlights a massive contradiction. Usage is actually jumping. It's up 14%.
When you look at the top use cases for people who have adopted the tech, research leads at 51%.
Followed by writing at 28%, school and work projects at 27%, and data analysis at 27%. If you're listening to this, you're likely in that group using it daily to synthesize your research or draft emails.
But you might also be part of the demographic driving the next statistic. 70% of respondents expect artificial intelligence to shrink job opportunities.
That's a massive 14-point jump in job anxiety. We are using this technology more than ever to do our core daily tasks. Yet we are terrified it's going to shrink our opportunities.
The contradiction makes perfect sense when you segment the data by demographics. The poll reveals a severe income divide regarding market sentiment. 52% of respondents earning over $200,000 a year say the technology does more good than harm,
while 60% of those earning under $50,000 a year say it is doing more harm than good.
The highest earners see a productivity multiplier, while the lowest earners see an immediate replacement threat. Furthermore, only 5% of the public believes this technology is being developed by people who actually represent their personal interests.
That is an incredibly low number.
Consequently, 74% of respondents stated the government is not doing enough to regulate the industry. Historically speaking, looking at previous technological revolutions, this specific type of massive gap between Silicon Valley's aggressive optimism and Main Street's deep pessimism is exactly the kind of market friction that drives sudden, sweeping regulatory backlashes.
This tension between rapid enterprise adoption on one hand and massive structural shifts on the other is playing out across the rest of the industry right now. So let's step back. Let's look at the broader underlying infrastructure movements happening today.
We are seeing a distinct bifurcation in the market.
The legacy giants are executing massive structural pivots. The startup ecosystem is focusing on highly efficient, localized deployments.
Consider Oracle. They are currently undergoing what is expected to be the company's largest restructuring ever. They are cutting thousands of jobs.
They're doing this to pivot entirely toward physical infrastructure and compute power. They are essentially trading human capital for server racks and data centers.
Meanwhile, Salesforce is taking a different approach. They just released 30 new capabilities for their Slack-bot agent.
This includes reusable skills and actual desktop operation capabilities natively within Slack. They also integrated Model Context Protocol connections.
What exactly is a Model Context Protocol connection?
It's a standardized way for an AI model to securely access external data sources. Instead of the AI just guessing, it has a direct, secure pipeline to your company's actual databases or files.
Those moves by Oracle and Salesforce represent the top-down approach. Legacy software providers are deeply embedding these capabilities into the tools that Fortune 500 companies already use every single day.
But on the other side of that spectrum, we have the builders creating incredibly efficient new paradigms. Software just launched an AI-native, no-code platform.
It allows completely non-technical users to build production-ready business applications.
Complex client relationship management systems, inventory tools, client portals, all complete with databases and permissions built entirely through a visual editor.
And to manage all of this, Teleport introduced a tool called Beams. It allows users to run these agents securely across their infrastructure with built-in identity, control, and trusted runtimes.
If you have autonomous systems executing tasks, you need strict, verifiable security parameters. Teleport is building the guardrails.
We are also seeing fascinating developments in the models themselves. Google just released VO 3.1 Lite.
It's a budget-friendly video generation model for developers. It produces up to 8 seconds of video at half the cost of their fast variant.
And a company called Prism L just emerged from stealth to launch Bonsai. Bonsai is a tiny open-source model.
It shows incredibly strong intelligence for its size, and it can actually run locally on standard consumer hardware.
The contrast is striking. You have Oracle reorganizing tens of thousands of employees to build massive data centers.
Simultaneously, Prism ML is proving that highly capable models can be compressed to run on a laptop sitting on your kitchen table.
The capability curve is expanding in both directions: massive centralized scale and micro-efficient local deployment.
With models becoming this cheap and infrastructure becoming this accessible, there is an absolute flood of new tools hitting the market. So let's speed back up and shift gears, running through today's top trending tools that you can integrate into your workflow right now.
The focus here is transitioning from novelty to practical, actionable utility. We are seeing tools that abstract away the complexity of prompting and focus entirely on the final business deliverable.
Let's start with content creation. Ribbi is a self-evolving creative agent that generates multimodal content through natural conversation. If you need a complete marketing package, you don't write a 50-line prompt, you just talk it through.
Then there's AdsCreator, which is incredibly straightforward. It's a tool that takes a standard website URL and instantly turns it into scroll-stopping video or image advertisements.
And if you are doing video work on a budget and building your own apps, you can now access that VO 3.1 Lite model we mentioned earlier from Google to power those features.
All of these represent a shift toward no-code workflows. You aren't managing the AI, you are managing the output.
If you are looking to turn abstract thoughts into concrete workflows, there's Raccoon. This is a collaborative agent focused purely on taking your raw ideas and converting them into actionable, step-by-step processes.
For the developers out there dealing with the back end, Fauna features a built-in creative agent that seamlessly handles model routing and prompting for you.
We're also seeing significant leaps in general capability models from international players. Alibaba just released Qwen 3.5 Omni, which boasts comprehensive native understanding across text, image, audio, and video inputs simultaneously.
But here is where the workflow completely changes. We are moving into the orchestration era. AgentField is a new open-source control plane that makes these agents callable across your entire tech stack.
Whether it's your front end, your back end, or a scheduled cron job, you can call an agent just like you would call a standard API.
This is a massive shift. Think of AgentField like a kitchen expediter. Instead of you having to cook the meal by manually prompting one system, AgentField acts as the head chef, shouting orders to the specialized fry cook AI and the pastry chef AI, making sure the whole meal comes together perfectly at the pass.
I absolutely love that analogy, and we're seeing that visual orchestration emerge too. If you are coding on a Mac, you need to look at Maestri.
Hmm.
It provides an infinite visual canvas designed specifically for macOS, allowing you to orchestrate and connect multiple different coding agents together on one screen.
Finally, pushing the boundary of autonomous action, H Company just released Holo 3. This is a new, state-of-the-art, open-weight computer use agent that can actually navigate an operating system.
Just to clarify for everyone, OpenWeight means the actual trained neural network is available for you to download.
Yeah.
You get the actual brain to run on your own hardware, rather than just renting access to it through a cloud provider.
Tools like AgentField and Maestri prove we are rapidly moving away from the era of simply prompting a single chatbot in a browser window.
We are entering a world of agentic orchestration. You are managing multiple specialized models working in tandem to execute complex, multi-step operations across your local machine and your cloud infrastructure.
It fundamentally changes the user from an operator to a manager.
And looking at all these highly capable, hyper-specific individual tools like Holo 3 and Maestri hitting the market today, it really raises a critical question for the future of this industry.
It does. How will this vibrant, decentralized ecosystem of specialized open-weight agents ultimately compete against OpenAI's massive $122 billion vision of a unified super app? OpenAI wants to capture and control every single one of those workflows in a single closed ecosystem. Will the future of work be a walled garden or a decentralized kitchen of specialized tools?
That is the ultimate battleground for the next 12 months. If you want to keep tracking that battle and ensure you are always equipped with the latest tools and market signals, make sure you follow the show on your favorite platform. Share this deep dive with a friend or a colleague who needs to stay ahead of the technology curve, and keep experimenting with these new workflows. See you in the next episode.